Lesson 78 and 79, examples of different time signatures and repeat signs in Learn Violin Fast, Book 1. So far, we've pretty much played only songs in 4/4 meter, also known as common time, but you will encounter music that's written in 3/4 and 6/8, also, and then 12/8, also known as compound meters, right? But most of the music will be in 4/4, but you should know how the different time signatures feel, sound, and how to read them. So on page 86 in lesson 78, the top line is 4/4, right? So again, review, the top number tells us how many beats in the bar, so we have 4 beats in the bar, and the bottom number tells us that they're quarter notes, right? 1/4, the denominator is 4, so it's quarter notes. So the entire measure or bar has to be equal to 4 quarters or be equal to a whole note or 2 half notes. Now we can have any variation in between. We're not limited to only having quarter notes. So in the example, we start with 4 quarter notes, bar line. Then we have a half note, we'll have a quarter, and 2 eighth notes. All right, so again, the total eighth note is half a beat, so we have half equals 1 beat, quarter equals another, so that's 2, and then half note is 2, so 2 plus 2 is 4. So as long as the measure itself is equal to the total sum or 4 quarter notes, we're good to go. So here's the top example in 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, you notice that I counted 4 beats before I started playing. So we typically count one measure for nothing. So that's what it's called. We just count one measure to get us into the proper tempo and proper counting. So in the following examples, please take a look how before I begin playing, I will count to that particular number of how many bars are in a beat, also known as counting 1 bar for nothing, right? Meaning you count without actually playing. So the second example is 3/4, and that means every measure will have 3 quarter notes. Now, because 3 is an odd number, it actually feels a little off. And if you've ever heard a waltz, for example, waltzes are always in 3s, and because they're odd, they're very dancey, and it kind of gives a very, it's hard to explain, but in 3s, because they're not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It gives itself to a dance-like feeling very well, and the waltzes are always in 3. All right, so we're gonna play the middle example now, which is in 3/4. We start with 3 quarter notes of a bar line, then we have a half note, then we have 1 quarter. All right, you'll notice that I count 3 before I begin playing. 1, 2, 3. So that was the example of 3/4. Next, we have 6/8. So the top number tells us there's 6 beats in a measure, and the bottom number, 1/8, is eighth notes. So we have 6 eighth notes per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, at the bottom of this example, you'll notice that we have a quarter note with a dot on the side, which we haven't really discussed yet, but just know that the dot on the side of a note adds half of the note's value. So a quarter note, if we divide it in half, would be 2 eighth notes. And what's 2 plus half? 2 plus 1 would be 3. So the last note on this example on page 86 has 3 eighth notes. So this is the last 6/8 example on page 86. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, we have lesson 79, which is the repeat signs. Very often in music, things repeat. And instead of constantly writing out and wasting more ink and paper, composers and arrangers will just put a repeat sign if something is to be played twice. So the repeat sign means to go back and repeat the same section. You'll notice that the repeat sign has to be with a double bar, and there's 2 dots. And the 2 dots point to the direction that you have to repeat in. So at the end of on page 87, our example, the top line, we have double bar and the 2 dots point to the left. So that means we got to repeat back to the left. And if there's no other markings, you go to the very beginning of the line or the entire section. So if it's more than one line, you would go to the beginning where the music starts. If you have a repeat sign with 2 dots. So number 79, the example, we would play twice. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you notice that I played that line 2 times, and if there's no marking on the repeat sign, the default is always you play it twice. Sometimes in musicals and other music, you can have more than 2 repeats, but usually that will be marked. It will say 4x, 4 times or something like that, okay? So we can repeat part of a line by placing 2 double bars with dots facing each other, right? So we don't have to repeat a big section or entire line. We could say, hey, repeat just this little part, alrighty? So in the example on page 87, the middle line, you'll notice that we have our staff, a treble clef, a key signature, a time signature, right? We have the 2 sharps, have the 4/4, and then we have notes. We have a double bar line with dots facing to the right. Then we have more notes, and then we have a double bar line with dots facing to the left. So this section within the double bars and the 2 dots, that part only has to be repeated twice. So the notes themselves are identical in the middle line, but you'll notice how they're played different, right? And if you look at the bottom line on page 87, so the bottom line is I wrote out actually the repeat sign. So whether you're following the middle line on page 87 or the bottom line, you'll notice how the repeat is not the same as playing the whole thing twice through. So if you were to count the way to play the middle section where the repeat is only half of the line, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 6 bars, where if we repeat the first line, an example, we repeat the entire line, there's 4 measures, plus 4 is 8. So you'll notice how when you repeat the entire line of Old MacDonald, right? If you repeat the entire line, it's 8 bars. And then if we repeat only the second half of the line as an example in the middle, it's 6 because we'll play through and then we'll go back and repeat, but only the last 2 bars. So here is the example of the middle line, or as written out at the bottom of the line. So that's how the repeats work. I hope that all made sense and you're enjoying learning violin, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching.